Does Joe Biden have what it takes to go the distance? His campaign, which has largely been covered, is one step forward and two gaffe-induced step back.
The campaign should take the next 3 weeks of coaching and mock interviews and simulations, whatever they need to do to get him there on this, because he can do it. But so far, it hasn't come together, I think, in the way he's going to need to be prime time.
You know, the campaign, to some extent, still struggling to figure out how exactly can he break into the conversation, generate headlines, not necessarily just on the issue of the pandemic, but on the campaign overall.
Because Democrats privately and publicly starting to wring their hands.
And I think the campaign really needs to figure out how to make sure that he is really in a position to discuss what will be the defining issue of this election in a much more compelling way than he's been able to do it to date.
I'm just talking about her name, not anybody else in those records. A search for that. Nothing classified with the president or anybody else. I'm just asking, why not do a search for Tara Reade's name in the University of Delaware records?
Look, I mean, who does that search? You know, there's during World War II, where Roosevelt came up with a thing that was totally different than he called it the World War II. He had the War Production Board, 6 policy working groups, one on the economy, one on education, one on criminal justice. It should be reform, not punishment. One on immigration, climate change, and the economy. If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330.
There was a debate here in the United States, and quite frankly, throughout most of the West, as whether a rising China was in the interest of the United States and the wider world. As a young member of the Foreign Relations Committee, I wrote and I said, and I believe then what I believe now, that a rising China is a positive development, not only for China, but for America and the world writ large.
My name's Sitza Gofard. I'm a senior at the college, and I'm the vice president of the student body here.
Isn't that a bitch? I mean, excuse me.
Never make any big gaps. I mean, you guys love saying that about me.
Often his handsiness and comments
No DC-30
are likened to those of a crazy but lovable uncle. But as they veer toward the more bizarre variety, it's raising questions about appropriate behavior for someone eyeing the White House.
So earlier this week, Biden publicly used the term Shylocks in reference to aggressive money lenders. But it's a word considered anti-Semitic, a reference to a ruthless Jewish lender in Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice.
Said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
I've gotten to know you well enough. You want me to stop because I'm embarrassing you.
Every 10 minutes there's a shift in sort of what the strategy is. Again,
Who gives a It's a large, very identifiable Somali community. There's an awful lot who are driving cabs and are friends of mine, for real. I'm not being solicitous. I'm being serious.
Only 15 Somalis live in the entire state, according to the Census Bureau. And Wilmington cab drivers told CNN they knew of no Somalis driving taxis.
The vice president called the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi today to clarify remarks he made last week during a forum at Harvard.
Our biggest problem is our allies.
I said, Jill, if there's ever a problem, just walk out on the balcony here or walk out, put that double-barrel shotgun and fire 2 blasts outside the house. All this stuff about how different Barack Obama is, they're just not used to somebody really smart. They're just not used to somebody who's really well educated. They just don't know quite how to handle it. Because if he's as smart as Barack is, he mustn't be from my neighborhood. His mom lived in Long Island for 10 years or so. God rest her soul. And although your mom's still alive as your dad passed.
God bless her soul.
A man who will be the next president of the United States, Barack America.
It happens to be, as Barack says, a three-letter word, jobs. J-O-B-S, jobs.
Now is the time to heed the timeless advice from Teddy Roosevelt. Speak softly and carry a big stick. End of quote. I promise you, the president has a big stick. Buy a shotgun. Buy a shotgun.